Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of my team selector ahead of the game against Liverpool tomorrow at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League. A massive test straight away in this Premier League season. No time to really settle and get comfortable within it because it is such a big test, isn't it? Coming up against the champions, Jurgen Klopp versus Frank Lampard once again. Chelsea-Liverpool is always one of the biggest games on the calendar, especially personally for me in terms of rivalries with other teams in the Premier League. It's going to be a big game really, and I think the difficulty for me going into this game is a sense of frustration because judging Chelsea in these opening weeks is difficult because there's so many players, key players for me throughout the season as we look at the long term rather than the short term. They're going to be massive for Chelsea that aren't available for this game through injury or just a lack of match fitness. You look at it once again for this game, no Christian Pulisic, no Hakim Ziyech, no Thiago Silva not fit yet, and no Ben Chilwell as well. Hopefully those players will be available very soon for Chelsea. I think that Barnsley game is a good one for the likes of Thiago Silva to potentially get some minutes in his legs before the West Brom game next weekend. But that's the thing, when judging this Chelsea team in the short term, it does feel like these games also are a little bit like a pre-season for Chelsea, which, you know, points are up for grabs. These are big games, these are important games in the season, but so early on, I think you have to understand that and temper your expectation, especially in these opening weeks before all those players are back and raring to go. Just going into this game, I think that for me, before I give my predicted 11, I do think Chelsea need to be better on the ball than they were against Brighton. Under 50% possession for the Chelsea side is a worrying stat. Possession isn't everything, and Chelsea got away with it the other night. We were very clinical with our chances, but I don't think we can ride our luck like that again 2 games in a row. I think Chelsea have to be much better and much more decisive on the ball. You can't get away with it, and I think just the tactic at times of lumping the ball up to Timo Werner, I don't think will work as well. I think we need to be more intelligent with the ball, which is why I think certain players for me bringing into this team, especially in the midfield area, is absolutely key. But let's go into my 11. So in goal, of course, big debate around this, I'm sure, still with Edouard Mendy yet to sign. Willy Caballero for me. I picked Caballero last week. Now, Frank did back Kepa pretty publicly and pretty strongly after the game, but I expected him to do that. And really, we're going to know how much he's backing him based on his team selection tomorrow. If Kepa's in goal, then obviously he's backing him and he's still putting him in goal. But I just think Caballero will come back into the team. I think that mistake he made the other night, this is just a personal thing for me. I think Kepa, it's a point of no return at this point. And I do think, Frank was very good to give him that chance, just give him that chance in the opening game. But, it did cost us. So I think Caballero will come back into the team for this game. Back for Reece James, scoring that worldie. I think he'll start again. A big game for him, a big game to make an impression. Keep the same back two as well, Andreas Christensen and Kurt Zouma, who I thought both individually had very good games the other night. Let's hope they can continue that in a massive game for Chelsea. I am going to make one change though to the defence and bring Dave in at left back. I just think Marcos Alonso got the runaround against Tariq Lamptey, and I think about Alexander-Arnold. I think about that front three of Liverpool. Alonso has decent games in some of these big games. He has proved me wrong at times. I remember the Man City game last year. I think even against Liverpool in the FA Cup, he proved me wrong at a big game. And sometimes because of his experience, he can do really well. But in a back four, it still concerns me in transition, them running at him consistently. I even actually think in the Premier League game last year, which I think at home at a similar time of the year, actually, he came off the bench for Emerson, who was injured, and performed really well and got down their left side. That's maybe what Frankie's thinking, because Alonso on his day is such a big threat going forward in attacking areas, especially if we can get behind their defence tomorrow. But still, for me, I think Dave is the safer bet, ready to go in a game like this and can shift over to left back whilst we wait for Ben Chilwell to be ready for the season. So going into my midfield, now, whether it's a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, these are the two sort of central midfielders I want. N'Golo Kante, massive to have him back for the season. I think that's such an underrated aspect this season. If Kante's fit, he's going to help Chelsea so much defensively and also progressively moving the ball forward. But alongside him, for me, Mateo Kovacic, I think we massively lacked him last season. I refer to Kovacic as sort of that connector player from defence to midfield to attack. I think there's a lot of things that Kovacic does that people don't recognise, and I think he's so important for that, and I think we just lacked that. I think there were too many players who were sort of doing similar roles on Monday, and I think we lacked a Kovacic pressure resistance as well against a team as intense as Liverpool. Kovacic will be raring to go, prove people wrong once again. He was player of the season last year, and I think, once again, these are the type of games he can excel in. So for me, Kovacic in midfield. And also, I mean, it's toss puzzle for going between the positioning, but I do think Kai Havertz will be in midfield once again. Whether he's the number 10 in a 4-2-3-1 and you have Kante and Kovacic as the pivot behind him, which I think actually is better, considering Havertz saying earlier in the week, number 10 is my favourite position. But I just think based on the amount of natural wingers we have available at the moment, one of those two is going to have to go out wide. But I'd like to see Kai potentially as a more central midfielder in this game, just to see how he works, because I do think he can find space, especially maybe as a number 10, connecting with other players fluidly moving forward. But then going on to right wing, I think Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, whether it's right wing, left wing, I think we have to be playing our only natural winger. We lacked width desperately the other night, and I want to see Callum up there just for the pace, because I think it's unfair on Werner to just expect him to do everything, especially against such a good defence like Liverpool. I know they got exploited last week, but, you know, still some top defenders back there, and I think that Callum, it's a big opportunity for him. There's been so much speculation recently, but I think he just needs to get out on the pitch now and play football, and I hope that Frank gives him the chance tomorrow in this game, which means that Mason Mount will play either on the left or the right. I'm going to go on the left wing. I think, personally, because I like to see Cho cutting from the right, I think he's very dangerous once he cuts in from the right and shoots with his left foot. I think he can be much more proactive on that side, personally, for me. But either side, and I think Mount is just that versatile player you can put up there, has bundles of energy to go, and I think that Frank knows, based on last season, he can play Mount in a variety of positions, and he can excel and lift the energy of the team naturally. And of course, up front, Timo Werner against the side he could have signed for and chose over Liverpool to sign for Chelsea and join Frank Lampard's revolution. Let's hope this is the day he scores his first goal. It would be written if he has an amazing game against Liverpool, wouldn't it? And I do think, based on last week, there's a lot of space there for Werner to exploit. I think we saw that against Brighton. Werner, his movement is brilliant. He looks so sharp, so ready for this season. It's just about, for me, that midfield play for Chelsea, moving the ball intelligently towards him and not just pumping the ball up to him. Of course, I think our fullback play is very important as well, and if you can get the ball out wide to, say, a Dave, and more specifically Reece James with his delivery to cut the ball maybe round, bypass the midfield, get through to Timo Werner, push the team up with linking with Kai Havertz and Hudson-Odoi and Mason Mount potentially. But I just think Werner in this game, if he does score, it'd be massive for him. But it's a big game. It's a big game where Werner to prove himself against the club he could have signed for and score his first Chelsea goal. But that is my 11 for the game tomorrow. Please let me know yours in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea. Have a great day, and I'll see you again.